right here. Her name is Jenny. I don't know your role at Deer Run. Okay, we got to talk because my kids go to Deer Run, so that's why she's sitting with me. She does development at Deer Run Camp. So if you guys have kids who do the summer camp, I just tell her I love Jesus being in my kids' lives during the summer, and so I love Deer Run. But this is a great moment for you. So welcome, Jenny.
Thank you, Jennifer. And I'm sorry, Jennifer had told me that Jared had spread himself a little thin. He was on both sides of the room. So now I'll come over to Jared and let him fill in any gaps that need to be filled in.
Another guest, so Jim Sheon, get a chance, come say hello. Jim and I went to college together, same fraternity. You don't need to know anything about that, but please come say hello to Jim.
What I'm hearing is Jim has blackmail material about Jared. That's what I'm hearing.
That's worth looking into. Looking for Jim Phillips. I see Jim. We'll see Jim. There's Sybil. There's Sybil. Oh, Sybil's got several guests to introduce.
Yes, we have a few guests from the National Super Speedway. And first, I would like to introduce Hope Neese, who is the EA and Director for Speedway Children's Charities. And then we have Kinsey Davis Poor. Raise your hand. Marketing and Community Coordinator. And they got here early to put gifts on the chairs. Then we have Casey Harmon, VP Consumer Sales, and Katie Myers, Director of Marketing. And then, of course, we have JT Thomas, who Bob will introduce later.
Perfect. Welcome.
Thank you, Sybil, and thank you all for being here. To all of our guests, welcome. We're glad that you're here. We look forward to hearing your program, JT. And with that, President Jane, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Drew. Okay, now we will have a Rotary Minute from Michael Heineman, who had plenty of time to prepare his remarks.
Thank you very much. I'm told that I'm supposed to talk a little bit about what I like best about Rotary. Thank you. Oh. You know, I have to admit there are a lot of things: good food, good company, good friends, fellowship, and great programs. All of that rolls in together, and that's why we're here today. When I first visited Rotary, and in my early years here, we would hand out these perfect attendance awards. People that had been had perfect attendance for 20, 30, 40 years. I thought, not me. I have a life. The idea of being in the same place every Friday, besides that's Mexican food day for me. So to be here every Friday was taking something out of my life. And it turned out, you know what, after a while, being here every Friday wasn't all that difficult. And it's not because I have to be here to get the attendance award. It's because I wanted to be here, because I wanted to be here with these people at this time. Fellowship has been extremely important. We talk a lot about service, and I have to admit, I do enjoy being involved in the service projects, but that's not really why I'm here. Rotary is a diverse organization worldwide. Here locally, it is diverse for Brentwood standards, but it's diverse in the industries that we represent. When I first joined, you could have one person from each vocation. And actually, when I was first introduced by Don Robinson, or first sponsored by Don Robinson, there was another architect in the club, and I was blackballed. I was not allowed to join. The next year, I was reintroduced by Louis Rankin, and I was allowed in at that point. It's not that the laws had changed, but, well, pick your sponsor is an important thing. But our rules for Rotary have changed, that we now not only allow multiple people for different vocations, but we still encourage the wide variety of vocations that were here, which brings me up to another reason that's great to be in Rotary. I fully believe in doing business with Rotarians. You don't join Rotary in order to get a list of emails so you can start marketing to people. I've never marketed to people in the club, but I ended up doing business with quite a few. I've done business with folks that professionally our businesses work together, folks that provide services that I personally engage, but doing business with Rotarians has been very, very beneficial to me. There are certain Rotarians, however, I would avoid. Lori Reed, for example, our local divorce attorney. My wife has her on speed dial. Our funeral director over here, definitely. You know what? He's the last person. No, wait. That's Molly Chatterjee. I love Molly Chatterjee, but gynecologist I do not need. So, and then of course our police chief and our fire chief. I like to just wave to them as we go by. But doing business Rotarians with Rotarians is very, very beneficial. One last thing, as we look for people, as we're looking for more people to join this club, and we're always looking for good candidates. Our average age right now is somewhere around 55. I highly encourage you to look for people who are below average. This club needs more people that are below average in every way. Thank you very much.
Good thing we didn't give him much time to prepare. No telling what he might have said. Now we're gonna have Happy Bucks led by Betsy Crossley.
All right,
Who's happy?
I'm happy and who else is happy? Just so you know, during this time, if you're visiting today, we charge for this because sometimes these comments can get really crazy around football time, just to say.
We kind of had a little mix up and Hope kind of bailed us out. Now I just want to thank her. And this goes with Terry.
Thank you, Bob. Awesome. Can I see another hand? Okay, Tom Carr. Aloha, Tom Carr. We're glad you're back from that beautiful month-long stay in Hawaii.
I just wanted to thank my good friend Michael Hyman. He never disappoints. And I wanted to quote what Suzanne has told him several times before in his life. Just because a thought comes into your mind does not mean you have to say it.
George.
The 10 spot really is not adequate for this announcement, but anyway, my wife had breast cancer in 2003. And unfortunately, a result of that came back last spring. And we just went through radio or chemo and major surgery. Got a clean. Praise God.
Woo. All right. All right. Who else? Any more? All right. Where's your money?
PayPal. Hey, for those of you who I've invited and maybe have attended the Dr. Wang movie, I don't know if you made this announcement yet. Did you make this up? Okay. So when you make a small independent film, the natural conclusion of that is you've made yourself a nice little memento, right? It never gets distributed. Dr. Wang was able to get distribution. The movie's been purchased by, I don't know the financial dealings, but anyway, Universal Studios is going to distribute that movie. And in September, it's going to be out, I think, on 1,500 screens. I mean, a pretty big release for such a small movie. So for those of you who didn't get to see it or already seen it and want to see it again, I believe in September, we can all go watch a movie. All right.
Wow.
Good.
I've got $1 somewhere. So, but anyway,
Same place it usually is.
no, my main dollar goes to Steve Grissom. So we're going to miss you. He's moving to North Carolina. And I'm sitting at a table with 3 Vanderbilt grads. I'm wishing you luck in the NIT. So you can be crowned the 69th best team in the country.
Lynn has picked up your $1, by the way. All right.
All right, so I have 2 because I failed to pay last week to talk about my fight coming up on April 15th. So again, I'll give you more details about that when it comes up, but I'm having my first ever box. And then here's another $1 in honor of my great friend and Julie Porter on the Tennessee losing to Florida Atlantic the other night. Sorry about that. Yeah, go Buckeyes.
Oh, all right. Like I said, it can get chippy, so I'm just saying. Anybody else happy? All right, good
Any
enough.
more happiness?
Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy. So we have a couple of announcements real quickly. Pancake Day is coming right up. As you might have heard, John Helm and Julie have an announcement.
Hi, everybody. As you probably know, we're having Pancake Day at Brentwood High School this year, so don't go to Brentwood Middle School next Friday. 3 o'clock is set up time. I do have signs in the back over here that say Brentwood High School. Please don't put out the signs, the old signs that say Brentwood Middle School. But if you live in a high traffic area, we want to get those out this Sunday. So please take one. If you need tickets, I still have a few tickets left. If you want to hand those out to people. And what else?
They're gonna be your whiteboard.
And they'll be at Spruce if you don't get them today in Brentwood. So I'll let Julie talk about the personnel.
Again, first of all, who is sick and tired of hearing me every Friday talk about assignments? Raise your hand. I am. Anyway. Larry's in a couple weeks. Anyway, assignments are on the table. Looks like a lot of our highlighted positions are going away. We've got some Overton High School students coming to help. That's great. We've got some football players lined up to help be some runners. Anyway, we still have a couple of open spots. If anyone has anyone that they can bring with them, that's greatly appreciated. This is your last week to make changes. I know some things have come up this week with a few of you all. So just let us know this week, but final assignments are pretty much hopefully this right here, but we can make a few changes this week if we need to. If you have any questions, you can reach out or call or email myself or Jordan, and we'll be happy to help in any way. 1 week away. Yay.
Okay, griddles set up in the back. For our guests, we host an annual Pancake Day. We were unable to do it for 3 years, I guess, because of COVID. And last year was our first year back, but it's kind of a Brentwood tradition. And the cool thing about it is that, you know, all generations of our neighbors come to Pancake Day, and it's really just a fun day of fellowship. So please join us. It's at Brentwood High School next Saturday morning, starting at 7 o'clock in the morning. Get up early, come eat pancakes with us. Well, in front, the griddles will be in the back, but the event will be in the cafeteria. It's inside in the cafeteria. Yeah, and we usually have bounce houses and clowns and stuff for, you know, activities for little kids. So come, bring your whole family. We'd love to have you. All righty. With that, are there any other announcements? Okay, I'm going to ask Bob Searcy to come forward and introduce our guest speaker. Excuse me, Bob.
I am delighted to get to introduce JT Thomas. JT is actually returning to Middle Tennessee. As a matter of fact, he went to church right up the street at Fellowship Bible when he lived here. He was recruited a little over 10 years ago to go to East Tennessee for the Bristol Motorsports. JT had a pretty strong network of folks here in Nashville. He was in Christian music business, managed some folks, Stephen Curtis Chapman, Point of Grace, and some others. As a matter of fact, he has a special connection with Stephen Curtis Chapman's nonprofit because he and his wife adopted a 10-month-old baby some 18 or 19 years ago from Russia. And as you may recall, Stephen Curtis Chapman has been very involved in that kind of thing. JT is very successful up in East Tennessee. He did promotions. He actually was real involved in bringing some big time acts to that area up there, Alabama, and Kenny Chesney and the list goes on. Just in December, he was recruited back to this area, to the Nashville Super Speedway, which is out in Lebanon. You may, I really look forward to hearing the real history of the Speedway. I mean, it made a lot of splash and then it kind of was quiet for a while. And now that he's there and his cohorts who were introduced by Sybil a few minutes ago are instrumental in trying to really make things happen. They have a lot of big things about to happen. JT stepped in kind of at the last minute, which I am very grateful for him doing that. And so what we're going to do is Linus is going to show a short video, and then JT is going to come up and take over. Welcome, JT, and his cohorts.
William Byron will hang on and win at Atlanta Motor Speedway in dramatic fashion. Here in wine country, Daniel Suarez is going to be the toast of the town as he captures his first ever victory. For the 63rd time, we're about to contest the Coca-Cola 600 at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Ciao.
On behalf of Echo Park Automotive, I'm going to give you this time.
Oh my God, I got more Ross Chastain is going to get his first NASCAR Cup Series win.
We do work all throughout the year at all of our events to raise money to give back to the community. And since inception, we've raised over $60 million for kids in need. And it's just really, really something to be very, very proud of.
I'm really proud to announce the NASCAR All-Star Race will be hosted at North Wilkesboro Speedway in 2023.
Commitment from Marcus and the state is a great sign for a long-term future.
Everybody, get that picture off of that thing there. So, hey, it's great to be here. Thank you so much for allowing us. And I realized after Bob's introduction and that video, good night, everybody. That's about all you need to know, right? It gets me fired up to be here. I'm excited to be a part of this. And if you came today expecting to meet Eric Moses, I'm sorry. You're going to be probably sorely disappointed. As some of you may know, Eric was the president of National Super Speedway the last couple of years as that's been kind of rebirthed. And he took a great opportunity to go to Phoenix, leave us, and be the CEO of the Citrus Bowl. And then it's a great opportunity for him, and we're excited. But it's great to be here. I'm excited to be here to share and meet you, but I'm excited about what you guys do. Serve and promote goodwill, right? Is that kind of the part of the mission of what Rotary is? Good news. Sharing good news in today's world is different and daring, actually. It is, it's not easy, right? And so
the good news that we get to share from everybody else is, hey, we're moving forward as it relates to what you guys are doing and joining and being new in the community. And so I wanted to be here to say, it's not easy to share it in today's world. Gossip and bad news is easier to share. It can be clickbait. It's more muscle memory to be proactive, to assume the best, and to be a sharer of good news. So to the Rotary Club of Brentwood, thank you for being leaders in this community who model that so extremely well. I am relatively new, as has been said, to Super Speedway in Nashville. But having been here for 4 weeks, coming from Northeast Tennessee, it's actually like coming home. I lived here, and when I say here, I mean here in this general area for 24 years. I moved here late 80s, went to Belmont, stayed, jumped in the music business, got on tour buses out here at Kroger at midnight, rode around the country for many years. And my wife and I, we went to fellowship when we met at Franklin High School, and when a shovel went in the ground there on Franklin Road, we were there. And our son went to Curry Ingram across the mountain, or not a mountain, across the hills, I guess. And so to be back here is exciting. It's exciting. I know the roads, I know my way around, but it looks like some new buildings have popped up in the last 10 or 11 years. Hey, today I'm going to share a little bit about Nashville Super Speedway and Speedway Motorsports. That's who we are, what we do, who we want to be. I'm going to show you some pretty pictures, some highlights, but feel free to ask questions as we go. And my hope is not only that we'll know a little bit more about our company, but you will take the opportunity to see who we are so that you can share with your friends and your colleagues about who we want to be in this community. So I'm going to kind of turn backwards a little bit, but Nashville Super Speedway, who's ever been there before? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I should get Jared up here. He comes over here with a Bristol Motor Speedway shirt on, 30-year season ticket holder. He could probably speak a lot of this better than I could after spending 11 years at Bristol. So we've already hugged, we've high-fived. But Nashville Super Speedway, if you remember, was built in the early 2000s. Dover Motorsports came into the market, built out there in Lebanon. If you remember, 840 was just getting completed. People were like, where is that even at? I drove from the track today. It's not as far as you think it is. Having lived here, I always thought it was maybe the moon, but it's not. It's just right out there. It started in 2001. They ran 24 Xfinity race series, 16 truck series. It's the largest concrete track in America, 1.33 miles. I'll bore you with just some stats and some statistics on this. But if you remember back, they wanted to have the Cup Series come to Nashville. That's why it was built. That whole facility out there is built on 1,700 acres. It was built with infrastructure under the ground, footings in the ground for 150,000 seats. And this guy named Bruton Smith, this is not the public, my opinion, okay? This is my opinion, not the public vote. But Bruton Smith took this other company he had and took one of his races and went and bought Kentucky Motor Speedway. And with Kentucky Motor Speedway getting a cup race, that kind of cut out, in my opinion, true, Casey, maybe, Dover bringing a cup race to Nashville. And so it was Kentucky, Bristol, Talladega kind of had this corner in the early 2000s when NASCAR was growing so rapidly to go to the West Coast. And so Nashville Super Speedway had about 8 or 9 years, 10 years worth of Xfinity races, IndyCar races, things of that nature, but they never built out the whole property as the master plan. I looked at it again this morning. 1,700 acres. They had a 5/8 mile dirt track pushed around in the back. They had a drag strip already on the plat. They had a 1/4 mile track for Legends cars and other things. It was a motorsports mecca, and it just never really came. And so in 2011, it closed, and it kind of set out there. There's one guy named Don, who's in our operations team, and he leads that. He's been there before the shovel went in the ground for Nashville Super Speedway. He was there when they were closed. He made sure that place was there, and he's still there today. I keep telling him I want a Netflix special built around him. I think it'd be really cool to hear his stories of knowing how to keep that place going. We are back. Dover brought the track back and opened up in 2021. First race back with NASCAR. And when it came back as a cup race, an Xfinity race, and a truck race. That may sound like jibber jabber to somebody. So I'm going to say it's a little bit like minor league baseball. So you have Major League, AAA, AA, Single A. It's all feeder systems to kind of grow that process. And so the good news is they brought NASCAR Cup Series back. NASCAR's changed. The whole world's changed since 2008, 2009, 2010. Streaming, everybody's watching streaming stuff, right? And so the whole world has changed, but we've come back in a place where, if you haven't heard, we've been talking about Nashville Fairground Speedway for about 5 or 6 years here. Bristol Motor Speedway, Speedway Motorsports. We've been in the market talking to Metro for a long time, looking to revitalize that. We come bouncing into town, want to be good partners, and wouldn't you know, it's a little bit harder than what it was advertised to possibly be. I'll get into more of that in a few minutes, but our desire was to come back and be part of Nashville Fairground Speedway and revitalize the second longest running speedway in America. First started in 1904, I believe. 1908 was the first race there. And so Dover came in. Our company, Speedway Motorsports, actually ended up purchasing Dover in the last year. And so they ran a race as Dover for 1 year in 2021. Coming out of COVID, Speedway Motorsports bought it. This team has done miraculous things to kind of bring that track back up to existence and to run a cup race. They've had 2 sellouts the last 2 years, and it's been a phenomenal opportunity to be a part of. When I say Speedway Motorsports is a big company. We like to think of ourselves as good partners, but we also are owners. It's owned by Marcus Smith and his brothers. Bruton Smith was the founder. Back in the 50s, they built a little track called Charlotte Motor Speedway, and then it just continued to grow. And I like to think Bruton passed away last year. I met him twice before his health started to deteriorate over the years, but I call him a little bit Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey. You know, you want to talk about a promoter? He was a promoter who did things first. He's the first one who built condos at a raceway. He's the first one to put lights around 1.5 miles in Charlotte, said it couldn't be done. He's the first one to do crazy things like when we did the battle at Bristol at 2016. Anybody remember University of Tennessee and Virginia Tech playing? Crazy idea. 20 years earlier, Bruton, before there were any kind of neutral site games ever happened, right? This was early 2000s. The speedway, the infield was getting ready to be redesigned at Bristol. Went to UT and offered them $20 million to play there. They turned it down, and Virginia Tech turned it down, couldn't get it on. So that game had been rumored for 20 years. And in 2016, we hosted the world's largest football game with 159,000 people at Bristol. If you kind of see where's Bristol at here, we may show a picture here later up there at the top. But it's the 5th largest sporting facility in the world. When he bought it in 1996, it only set 75,000. Jared, it's a big giant coliseum, right? If you've never been, it's a great place to be. But it's those kind of things as a company we work with. And so all these giant facilities or giant land opportunities, and we do motorsports with NASCAR and NHRA and other kind of forms of racing, but we also host a lot of other things along the way. There's the picture right there of the battle at Bristol. I still look at that and go, I can't believe we did that. And I know some of the seatings were long way off, but to have 160,000 people in anything. Now, the crazy thing is when that happened for football, they were like, wow, that's the biggest audience ever. What they didn't really tell everybody is that for years, Bristol had 55 consecutive sellouts of 160,000 people for racing. You know, so when football got on the map, it kind of changed the story. But you'll see that's Bristol there for the Battle of Bristol. You got Firefly up at Dover, the big festival. This crazy thing in the middle, you probably can't see it on this side of the room. There's a thing at Las Vegas called Electric Daisy Festival. Last year had 250,000 tickets sold per day. And so we are a facility management and promotion company that hosts large events. And we love to kind of partner with people and dream big dreams. I often say we can mess up a small event. We overthink small events. Small events for us at times at some of our facilities is a 10 or 12,000 seat place. And we like to throw people at things and overstaff things and make it work because we're used to being able to move 100,000 people in and out of facilities. It comes with, who we are now, Nashville Super Speedway. It's a new thing. Bob asked me a few minutes ago, hey, do you guys want to continue getting out in the community and speaking? Absolutely. I don't know if it's any good, but we want to be out here to meet people and we want to be out here to tell a story. And the story that we have today is that Nashville Super Speedway is back. We're in the community. We want to be part of the community, and the community for us, when I think, having lived here 24 years, is not just Lebanon, Wilson County, Mount Juliet. It is Davidson County, Williamson County, Rutherford County, Middle Tennessee. And when I say Middle Tennessee, you know, that's Fort Campbell to Huntsville, right? At least that's the cable channels you get. At least that's the news you get, right? And so who we desire to be is that we want to be active participants in the community, being a part of telling our story, being able to welcome you and your clients, being able to provide opportunities that you've never seen before. And so right now, Nashville Super Speedway, we're running towards some great things. We've got about 100 usage days on the calendar right now. That ranges from NASCAR weekend to a private corporate event last week with Toyota, who brought dealers from all across the country to showcase their 2024 vehicles and train them in our garage areas. It may be a car show or maybe a music festival, maybe in the fall. So we'll see. But there's a lot of opportunities that's going on with us as we continue to grow. One of the things that's part of who we are, and it's part of the foundation of what we believe is Speedway Children's Charity, something that Bruton started years and years ago after he and his wife lost their baby to SIDS. He was very successful, and as you can imagine, when you're successful and making a lot of money and in public eye, you get asked to be a part of a lot of things. And so Bruton decided that his heart and their heart were going to turn towards kids. And so he decided that each one of our tracks, each one of his tracks was going to have a local chapter of Speedway Children's Charities. I'm excited to announce that just in the last few months, we've birthed the Nashville chapter of Speedway Children's Charities. Hope Mees here, raise your hand. Hope will be our executive director. It is to be a part of the community, telling what's going on, being a part of helping charities that work with children's organizations. In Bristol, I can speak because I was there for 11 years. In Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia and Southern Appalachia, there's a lot of need. There's a lot of resource. There's not a lot of options. There's not a lot of resources that you have as in Middle Tennessee up there is what they have. In 2016, we gave away $1 million to that community after having raised through all that. Over the years, each one of our facilities raises money that goes to children's organizations that stay in those communities. One of the things that's really kind of highlighted, and someone said it earlier, is sex trafficking going on. And so we're really focused on today foster care, helping families and helping to kind of come alongside those who are fighting the sex trafficking trade right now that's kind of using our interstate systems to expand their reach. Over the last, since 1982, we've as a company stand and say, hey, it is with our fans and our partners and our corporations and people that kind of say that we're friends that we've been able to say together, we've given away $65 million across the United States at the 11 facilities that we currently own. So that's significant. If you pull that out, just think about all the agencies that wouldn't have what they have. Claudia Bird, I love Claudia. She's executive director and kind of a grandmotherly kind of figure at Bristol, who's the executive director there. We kind of run all the way through the year, raising money to what she calls her favorite night of the year. And that's the Night of Smiles. And that's when we, in November, second or third weekend in November, we invite all those agencies in and we throw a party and she gets to hand out checks to all these agencies. And so last year, I think we gave away about $700,000 to about 85 agencies in Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia. We want to tell our story. Yeah, we're motorsports. Yeah, we're promoters, but this is part of our heartbeat and who we are. And so our hope is that you'll kind of join with us in this and kind of know that you can tell our story as it's being told. Serving our community. Just this past year, since 2021, we've been able to join with our partners here at Nashville Super Speedway. And I know it's early, but $147,000 has already kind of gone out to the community through Speedway Children's Charities, some of our partners, some of our sponsorships that's coming in. And so remember, when you see a name such as Ally or another partner, they're coming in and they're spending their marketing money, their resources, their teaming, their activations in this community. It's exciting to be a part of it. This past week, past month, we've been able to write a check to Rescue One. We were talking about the human trafficking that's going on, and they're an organization. Who did I speak with earlier? It's trafficking stuff, sex trafficking stuff, Steve. And so, I think this is part of, they came in and spoke to us at a lunch to our staff. We've got a staff of about 20 or 25 people, and it was eye-opening to hear the facts and hear what's going on and hear what's going on just within miles away where we're at. And so we were excited for our first thing here at Speedway Children's Charities at Nashville, one of our first to give away $12,000 to that. If there is interest in the room as it relates to learning more about Speedway Children's Charities, please grab Hope or myself afterward and kind of see what that's going to be. There'll probably be a golf tournament. There'll be some of the typical kind of things, but the fun things that we get to do is take advantage of our 30 or 40 or 50,000 people on race weekends and pass a red bucket and do different things and do silent auctions. And it's amazing. These race fans will buy old sheet metal, they'll buy old tore up sheet metal to go for hang on their garage wall to use the money for Speedway Children's Charities. Race weekend experience. Who's been to a race? Where you been? Where's the rest of you been? We need to get you out. We'd love to have you. And I'll tell you, it's probably, for the ones who haven't been, it's probably not what you think it is. I say it often is that we are cradle to grave, no collar to white collar. We are a city, we're not a genre. Having spent 20 plus years in music business, and I'm sure there's somebody who knows about music business in here, we're not a genre of music. And genre can be a really pipeline, a little sliver of what it is. It can be country or pop or rock or Christian or whatever that is. The fans who come to see our races come from nearly every state in the union and often across the world. I know because I spent so much time in Bristol, in case you can tell us because you're a ticketing guru, but in Bristol, we had all 50 states and 24 foreign countries come to our Bristol night race. That's a lot of equity, a lot of money coming through, and a lot of resources, but they come for a weekend of fun. We're not a 2-hour tailgate, nothing against that. We usually are a large group of people loading into a marketplace who's going to spend 2 to 4 days with their families, and they're going to use us as kind of a pinwheel to go out to go see other events and come back and see the races or sit at their camper. And some may not make it to the race, but we'll talk about that later. So Nashville's so unique. You know this, you've been here, you've been in Brentwood, you know this area, and you have experienced the rapid growth and the craziness that what Nashville is. But I'll tell you, having lived here for most of my adult life and moving away from here, is that Nashville, and I can say this to a room like this, is a city of excellence. It's one of the few cities in the world that is a sending out city. If you think about it, we send out messages that touch the world every day. This past November, my wife and I celebrated our son going to college, and we went to see some friends in Thailand. And we were riding down the street in Bangkok, listening to music that was written and performed in studios by friends of mine right down the street. And I thought, wow, how cool is that? And so when you think about the city that we're in and the people that we get to rub elbows with and the people that we do community with here is unlike any other place. And so if you were good somewhere else, if you were great at home, you're probably just good here, right? Especially singers or musicians and those kind of things. A city of broken dreams, but it also makes a great place to kind of do life. And so we get to kind of be a welcome mat for a lot of these folks to come in, different stars to kind of show off and be a part of what we're doing. Some of our events that we'll host this year is, like I said, car shows, racing experiences. If you've got clients who want to come out and be a part of some racing experiences, let us know. Who are we? This gives you just a real quick thumbnail of what we've been the last couple of years. 135,000 people has come through, 15.3 million unique TV viewers. I can bore you with the details, right? It is just it's a major league sport who's come in. NASCAR is still the second largest sport behind football, right? TV wise. It's also something from a moving through the community and moving through these cities to say, hey, how are we doing this well? And we want to be good partners. 2023, it's coming, June 23, 24, 25. We're going to welcome NASCAR back. We get to have Parker McCollum, who's a new up-and-coming country act, do a pre-race concert. We'll have all the kind of bells and whistles be a part of it. NASCAR will be activating downtown on Broadway with Ally, some of our partners. But we are continuing to create new experiences of what's happening. We've got new hospitality options, blah, 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 right? Love for you to come. Love for you to bring clients. I think it's a great opportunity to see what's going on and get a look around. Those are some of our partners we look at. that we partner with, that we actually call friends. And it's fun to do business with them because people's people, right? You want to do people, you want to do business with people that you want to do business with. It's nice to be nice is what I tell my son. He's tired of hearing me say that. And so what? If you've ever been to Fellowship Bible, Lloyd Shadrach will end a sermon saying, so what? Now what? What are you going to do with it? I've shown you a lot of pretty pictures, giving you a few facts. And some may be tempted to leave here today thinking that we're just promoters. We're a venue. It's true. Our events attract hundreds of thousands of visitors, creating jobs and generating revenue for local businesses. They come here, spend money in our hotels and our restaurants. In fact, a recent study for Nashville Superspeedway alone this last couple of years is we create $400 million in economic impact each year. That's just one race weekend. But none of it truly explains what it is we really do. We're given the role of Sherpas, guides who come alongside others in creating lifelong memories. Providing welcoming areas that inspire positive outcomes, shared experiences with colleagues who may become friends and families who are looking to create memories for a lifetime. As our founder, Bruton Smith, says, and it's painted on our wall at Bristol, it says, we work for the fan. And so for the last 11 years, that has been a charge and a reminder that the work we get to be a part of is more than a big hole in the ground, turning left at ridiculous speeds, or figuring out how many patches a grown man can wear on his outfit. We are welcomed into the lives of thousands of people, trusted to provide an experience and memory that may provide a break from the normal, a refreshed smile, and possibly even hope as they escape the stress of their everyday crazy lives. Good news, right? I think we're in the good news business. So I've often said, in order to lead well, we must love well and serve well. So I hope that you take away, we want to be known as a team that serves well. I like the words from Desmond Tutu. Do your little bit of good where you are. It is in those little bits of good put together that overwhelm the world. So thank you for allowing us to be here. Thank you for your service. Thank you for continuing to spread bits of good and goodwill in the community and around the world. And we truly appreciate the opportunity to be welcomed back to Nashville. Any questions? We got about 6 minutes before I heard the herd starts walking out, so I was blazing through it.
JT, I'm from a small town in Virginia that has racetrack
Yes, ma'am.
and
Called Richmond, maybe?
no, it's called
Okay.
Martinsville.
I like it. Martinsville, okay.
So I just looked up who owns that
Mhm.
track. I don't know. who
NASCAR.
Okay.
NASCAR
well,
owns that track.
Any chance you could get NASCAR to sell it? Because I grew up in that town. I'm still on property there. They don't, they get revenues from race weekend, but they're not doing all these other things. And that town
Yeah.
is, they need you.
Yeah, well, I grew up in Greensboro and Martinsville, so a lot of the race teams will fly into Greensboro, drive up to Greensboro, and then
Yep.
drive up to Martinsville, right up, was it 421 there, is that right? And so I'll tell you a story. NASCAR is our partner. We are not NASCAR, just so you know, we are promoters, we are event producers, we own lands, but we're not the sanctioning body. We're not the NFL. We have the license and we pay a lot of fees and a lot of sanctioning rights to take the full risk to promote these events. And so we have to pay the purse, we have to pay everything that goes along with it. NASCAR used to be, their racetracks who had their names were International Speedway Corporations. They now have just kind of morphed it all into under NASCAR, the France family. My first year at Bristol back in 2012, I went over to see Martinsville because I grew up going there. And my client was Pepsi at the time, so I had to go call on Pepsi. And so I go see the race, blah, 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 come back to our side, and it was on a random, just call it whatever day, May. After our spring race weekend at Bristol, and there's one of our operations ladies who was out on the side of a property that was painting this white gate. And I pulled up beside her and we talked a minute. How you doing? She said, good. I said, what you been up to? She said, just painting. I said, where you been? I said, I went to Martinsville this past weekend. She said, how was it? And I said, it's not like here. Because I didn't see, it looked exactly like it did in 1982. And so the resources that they put into it is something I stand really proud of the Speedway Motorsports employee, that we work for a man like Marcus Smith, that we work for a man like Bruton Smith, that puts resources back in, that has, oddly enough, real urinals in the bathrooms. It's things like that. Bruton used to tell our presidents at the track, if he gets through his list of stuff and he's banging you on the ticket sales, he's going to say, go check your restrooms. You know, that's going to tell you a story. And so he really set a high bar on who we are and how our properties are charged. But I love Martinsville. I love our friends at NASCAR. That city is a place that needs some help and some love. And also that track's limiting too, based on what it is. There's only so many things you can do at Martinsville. Any others?
Is it true that the Indy 500 is going electric with a big pause in the middle?
That's a good question on Indy 500. I have no idea. I wish we still, I know the Music City Grand Prix downtown is doing good stuff. I'm curious to see what they're going to do when the Titans start doing some things. That's right.
I don't know if this is appropriate, but we appreciate you being here and all the charity things you do. We have a Rotary Club charity golf tournament in September.
Yes.
And we raise a lot of money for charities. And if Hope could get with Larry Kane and maybe help us a little bit in
Absolutely.
that regard, we'd appreciate it.
Yep, be glad to. Good ask. Good ask. Yep. And if anybody needs to scoot out.
You mentioned a special relationship with the Fairgrounds Speedway.
Mhm.
Can you possibly explain that to me? I don't understand why we need to in such close proximity to each other and why one would rather be downtown
Yep.
where all the neighbors hate it.
Yeah, it's a complicated story, right? That speedway's been there since 1908. Anybody who's building or built the facility knew it's there, you know, as a past resident, I'll probably say more, I'll try to say less because there's a lot more details going on. And it did pass Fair Board this past week at 3-2. It's got to go through some Metro Council stuff. The why is because there's more opportunities there to bring that facility up to better standards. Right now it is falling apart. The Metro referendum for the council, for the city of Nashville says there has to be racing there. And so we can either improve it with a company that knows how to do improved racing with sound mitigation, with new resources, with bringing it up to ADA to bring it safer for the drivers and do less racing, or they can continue doing exactly what they're doing with not ADA compliant, with lesser resources. And it's going to be a really hard turn for those guys. If Metro, I was at the meeting 4 hours the other night, which was 4 hours I'll never get back in my life. But I was there and it was interesting because, you know, a couple of the guys brought up, well, if we're going to bring this back, if we didn't accept this deal that Bristol's doing and it's going to be paid and, you know, we're putting a lot of money into this option, is that it'd be in Metro's, it would go back to Metro's general fund to have to pay for the improvements. And so from what I've heard, whoever you talk to, it's $20 million or $40 million just to get it up to compliance, to get it ready. That would be out of the general fund. Out of the general fund comes schools, out of the general fund comes roads, out of the general fund comes those kind of things. These are, I think the opportunity is it provides a better facility there with what that area is going to happen. And our hope is to be able to do sound mitigation. NASCAR has agreed to mufflers on our NASCAR weekends. We are continuing to research new things. And so the hope is that it would be as a jewel, just as it is the soccer stadium. But there's a lot more to that too. It's depending on where you stand and where you. Yeah. I mean, it's, but believe me, we've been talking this talk. Jerry's been in the marketplace for 5.5 years. You know, we've gone through 3 mayoral mayor offices. You all know what Nashville Davidson County is to work with at times. Good folks, but it's also complicated. And anytime you kind of move through that. And so state's with us. I think mayor boards, the mayor's office is good for it. But there's a great opportunity for that to be a showcase place that we can do more things there that allows a resource for downtown events that are just not racing. It'll be another opportunity. Anybody else? Ding dong, 1 o'clock.
JT, you guys gave us pins as a gift. We have a pin for you as our speaker with our club's logo. We have this book that talks about Rotary's values that we read to first graders. And if you will sign this book, we will help get the word out and tell them about your visit to our club when we read the book. Thank you. To our guests, just wanted to re-welcome you all. We hope you'll take a minute and check out information about Rotary. We would love for you to consider joining our club. We hope you enjoyed your time with us as much as we enjoyed having you. And if there's nothing else, oh, take a sign. If you live in a high traffic area, please take a Pancake Day sign. Do what? Put it out on Sunday. Anything else? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.